Today is the Sunday closest to Earth Day, and in our denomination, we call that Sunday the Festival of God's Creation. And in talking about today's service with people who are especially involved with Earth Day and in our environment, members of our church, I discovered Carol and her interest and something spectacular that she is doing. And so she's bringing us the message today, and it's one you will really enjoy. Let me mention some things about, is it Wichita, Kansas? She's born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. She and her husband, Jim, have been married 48 years. Wow, so we'll be singing to you soon. What year did you arrive here? 1985 to Savannah. In 85, she was mainly a high school teacher at Windsor Forest and Savannah Arts Academy, teaching German, Spanish, and English. And then she taught Spanish later at Armstrong. Let's see. What am I forgetting? Oh, she's a great artist, by the way, great painter. And she plays, is it the clarinet? Yeah, great clarinetist. She's played for our choir sometimes. But anyway, this is a little new for her. She's used to classrooms. But she's brave enough to present something that I just think is remarkable. And I think you will too. Thank you. Well, welcome, Carol Anderson.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm a little jittery, but I'll try to get over it. It is such an honor to have this opportunity to talk to you about a project that I have created, and on this special Sunday, Earth Day Sunday. It's called the International Student Climate Arts Project, and I refer to it as an acronym, ISCAP. We started with one art, which was visual, and now we have a poet, so it has become arts. So you may hear me saying both, but thank you, Billy, so much for this opportunity. A little story. September 21st, 2014 was a very important day to me. The People's Climate March was going to take place in New York City, and I really wanted to go. There was so much hype, so much publicity. Thousands of people were preparing to go to march from the north side of Central Park down around to Times Square. The more I read about it, the more I wanted to go. I prepared down to the tiniest detail. My family and all my Facebook friends knew I was going to go, and they cheered me on as best they could. My plan was to take Amtrak the night before, arrive in time to march, spend the night with a dear friend, and return the next day. It was perfect. The train was to arrive in Savannah around 7 o'clock, I think. At 6 p.m., I got a text from Amtrak saying the train was to be delayed. Rather vague, right? At 8 p.m., I hadn't heard anything more, so I called them on the phone. Not exactly easy. And they said the train would get to Savannah around 11 p.m. Okay, I could still get there. I could still see the march and come back. You know, it was still a go for me. My husband drove me to the train station at 10-ish. I went to the counter to sort of check in and see what was going on, and the very nice man behind the counter said the train would not arrive. Now that's a rather definite thing. It would not arrive. Well, come to find out, the train traveling from Florida up north had been involved in a horrible accident. The engine was completely demolished. So I didn't get to go to the climate march, thinking just of myself, you know, not about whatever else was going on. And the next day, I watched it on my computer, which wasn't so hot, But here's the good thing that came out of that. As I had been preparing to go, I became aware of all kinds of art that people had created for the big parade. Posters and banners and all sorts of creative things for people to wear, carry, display, etc. It was a small industry unto itself. For the past several years, I've been reading and learning about climate change. I've read books, studied graphs and charts, etc., listened to experts explain what is going on with the planet. Well, charts and graphs and articles are good to a point. They have their purpose, but they don't work for everyone. So I began to wonder, what is another way to raise awareness of our precious planet's fragile condition? And I believe it's arts, the arts, visual art, music, poetry, theater. And Asburyans love the arts, right? And with that sensitivity, I hope that my project, the International Student Climate Arts Project, will resonate with you. Well, you may be wondering, what exactly is climate art? An easy definition might be any creative expression that conveys a message about the Earth's changing climate. I will show you some examples on the screens a little bit later. Well, I'd been pondering as well, what could I personally do? Could I do something? Could I make some difference? And then an idea came to me. You know how we sing at the end of our service about God speaking to us at night sometimes. An idea came to me to create a climate art project. I would invite teachers to participate. They would teach their students to create climate art. They would send me photographs of the kids and their works and the process and themselves and all of this, and we would put them on a website and share them with each other as well as with the world. I have been so fortunate, so blessed to be able to accompany my husband, Jim, as he has traveled for study abroad agreements between Armstrong State and other universities, and as well as sister city agreements with the city of Savannah and other places. And I've been able to go sometimes. Without his contacts, the project would not have had an international component, because many of his foreign colleagues and friends have become our friends, my friends, and those are the ones in foreign places that I invited to participate. Well, remember, the march was in September of 2014. By November of 2014, there was a trip, and we visited Sweden and the Czech Republic. And we had worked it out ahead of time. I visited schools and talked to teachers and invited them to participate. Later on in the year, there was another trip to Chile and Argentina, and the same thing. I visited in schools, talked to teachers through friends of friends, and presented the idea of the Climate Arts Project. And most people took to it really well. Well, back in Savannah, we have to get local people involved as well. I presented the idea to Katrina Schaefer, who is the visual arts specialist for the public school system here, and she is fantastic. What a jewel. She took to the idea immediately, and we began to make plans to get local schools involved. By last summer, 2015, we had 5 schools and 6 teachers participating, and they were Calvary Day School, the STEM Academy, Garrison Fine Arts with 2 teachers, Richmond Hill Middle School, and 1 foreign school in the Czech Republic. It was a start. We began a website with the gracious help of Professor Rachel Green, who attends Asbury, by the way. She is a professor at Armstrong State, and she has lent me her tech assistant, a young man named Chance Everett, and the Savannah Art Association has also helped with publicity and a bit of funding. I need to say right now that no money changes hands. There's no grant. There are no prizes. This is all altruistic enlightenment for the students and the community. So, August 2015, the website was ready for its first year. It was up and running. Everybody was happy. Yay. And then we started the next year right away. Well, now we are drawing to a close of that second school year. Now we have 14 schools who have participated. If you estimate an average of 10 kids, 10 students per school, and for some it's more than that, that would be, and their teachers, that'd be about 150 people who've been involved. You add on the families of those students, the other teachers in the schools that have become aware, and it could be quite a large number of people who are aware of this project. And the kids have made very cool, very beautiful, very creative art. In addition to the schools I mentioned a moment ago, the local schools that joined us this year are Thunderbolt Elementary, Butler Elementary, Savannah Arts Academy, Windsor Forest High School, and further afield, little tiny Glasgow, Kansas. And my friend Mrs. Alban is here, and she has been our contact with Glasgow. She lives half her life in Glasgow, Kansas, and half her life here. We also added 2 schools in Argentina in towns that are relatively close to each other in the province of Córdoba, and 1 in Chile. We even have our first climate arts poet and poem, as I mentioned, and this was written by a student who's now at St. Vincent's Academy here, but she grew up in Singapore. Her family relocated back to Savannah in December. So she fits with Singapore. Yes, we have Asia represented, but we also have St. Vincent's. All right, let me change gears just the tiniest bit. Do you know there is a green Bible? I'd never heard of it until a couple of weeks ago. Billy gave me some things that I could peruse on the computer, you know, this side and that, and found this green Bible. Well, I had to buy a copy. It's not a new translation. It was published in 2008. Certain passages, instead of the words of Christ being in red, you know, no. Words about nature and our relationship with nature and God are in, what do you think? Green. Yes. Soy-based, earth-friendly, green. They are passages that mark the relationship between God, humans, the land, the oceans, all creation. If you skim through, and I will have this in the social hall, this is a used copy, you can look at it. You can skim through, you will notice that the green ink starts in Genesis and goes through the Old Testament, through the New Testament, all the way to Revelation. Is that not amazing? The Bible has essays at the beginning, and those essays were written and the book was compiled by notable scholars. One of those scholars, Professor Ellen Davis, is at the Duke University Divinity School, and she says it's aimed at 2 groups of people. One, at people who take the Bible seriously, but don't take the ecological or environmental crisis seriously. On the other hand, it's aimed at people who might take the crisis seriously, but not think that the Bible has anything to say about it. So it is enlightening, could be enlightening to many, many people. Professor Davis continues to cite that in the Old Testament, God made a covenant not just with humans, but with all creation. And I believe we have the responsibility to be good stewards of the earth and the whole package. Well, I'm going to show you a few of the slides of the artwork. And I know morning has broken here, and I almost wish it were a cloudy day, but we'll do the best we can. And when we get to the social hall afterwards, we will put on the screen some more of these. But here's just a little taste. The students not only made art, but they or their teachers, if they were very young, sent me a statement, how they made the art, what they think of it, how it worked into climate. So I'll be reading little snippets to you. All right, the first slide is from Butler Elementary. Christina Parrish is the art teacher there, fabulous person. And this is a right whale. First and third graders studied the World Wildlife Foundation website. It's hard for me to say that. They discussed certain species that were becoming endangered due to climate. These are little kids, first and third graders. They chose an animal they wanted to portray in their artwork. They studied silhouettes. Remember, this is an art project. They studied silhouettes and they studied pointillism. Do you remember the Impressionist painter Seurat? He's the one who did those little dots all over everything. All right, that's pointillism. So these children made pointillistic silhouettes of an endangered species. I just love that. All right, the next one is from Richmond Hill Middle School. Tammy Luke is the art teacher, and she's been with the project 2 years. Her student, Kay Gilland, created this. It's called Saving the Marsh. Now listen to this, what she wrote. I made this work of art to represent the marshes and some of the wildlife that were protected during a project to establish those big poles to supply power. During the project, instead of using giant trucks to put up the poles, this power company in Richmond Hill, go figure, used a helicopter so they would not destroy the natural habitat. Isn't that fabulous? Kay used recycled materials, found materials, as so many of the other students did as well, using an egg carton, crayons, wax, the paper from around the crayons to create this little sculpture. All right, the next one is from Garrison, Fine Arts, K through 8, I believe. Brianna Thayer is the teacher who worked with students on this. This is from last year. You can see a lot of squares of probably construction paper. The 8th graders studied the ocean floor, and they recreated it. This was a collaborative project. So each student in the class got one of the squares, got corrugated board rolled, cut certain heights, so they recreated the floor of the ocean. They painted them in a collaborative way. Now this is a very big piece. When I stretch my arms like this, it is really big. And when I saw it, they had it actually hanging. I'm not sure if that was able to continue. It's probably also visible flat out, but it's quite large and a beautiful work of art. All right, the next one has to do, it's an ongoing project. This turned out to be much bigger than they thought, so it's going to continue next year. Are you familiar with a glass sculptor named Dale Chihuly? Fabulous stuff. Look him up on the internet. He works out of Seattle, and he has beautiful creations all over the United States and internationally. And it's glass, and you'll wonder, how on earth did he possibly do that? So they studied his works, and they are making, out of recycled plastic bottles, painting them and creating their own sort of Chihuly sculpture. They made 2. This one is to represent global warming, and the other one is in shades of blues and greens to represent the earth. So I'm so excited to see what that looks like next year when they hopefully get it finished. All right, the next one is from a sketchbook, and Savannah Arts Academy teacher Carrie Chapman had the students work in their sketchbooks. So this particular one might remind you of Tybee, yes? The artist is Annalisa Kim, a senior, and she wrote, because of rising sea levels and strong winds, there has been an erosion of beaches and sand dunes. As time goes by, Tybee is slowly falling into the sea. Even my home is getting closer to the water. Islands experiencing erosion have taken steps to create man-made barriers to prevent soil loss and fix the damage that has already been done. So something very relevant, very local, very timely. All right, the next one is from the Czech Republic. And it is from a school that works with business students and language students. They have a club after school. And they worked for 2 years, very interested in ecological things. One of the students, Sabina, wrote, "I have chosen the topic of global warming because it concerns the whole world and our life in the future. At present in our country, in the Czech Republic, we wrestle with high temperatures during summer. Our lakes, dams, and rivers are dehydrating, and everyone is being affected by this." So this is a very lovely graphite and colored pencil drawing. The next one is a colored pencil drawing from La Serena, Chile. This is a city, a medium-sized city on the coast of Chile, kind of in the middle of that very long country. They have had droughts, they have had floods, they had an earthquake, they've had tsunamis, you name it. These people have had a great deal. So this particular artist, a young person, depicted what was going on there. All right, the next one is from Little Glasgow, Kansas, which is a combined school district with another little place called Southern Cloud. The school is K through 8. Heather Smith is their fabulous art teacher. And this is called Tree of Life. A 9th grade artist made this. Her name is Dakota Davis. And here's what she wrote about this. "My composition is made of copper and tempera paint. Trees play a major part in our environment because without them, many species of animals would have to inhabit different areas. Trees are being threatened due to drought and unpredictable weather conditions. My project represents by the roots going into the ground, searching for any water." She goes on to talk about reusing water, saving water, and so forth. Her artwork kind of leads me to the next one, which is far away in Belleville, Argentina, a smallish town with a fine arts high school. They have an ongoing project. This is what they did last year, and they're going to be sending me things for this year. They have a project with this high school and then in conjunction with their town, where because of severe floods due to climate change, they're trying to nurture original seedlings. So there are ceremonies, and they call them happenings, where they go out and they're raising from seed plants that were there a long time ago. And they are hoping with that things will get better, that the soil will hold. They're incorporating art, the community, the collaboration, and it is a lovely, lovely project. All right, the next one is the culmination of this series, and this is called The Hand of Time. This is one of the ISCAP artists did this. She's from Glasgow again. I just love what she wrote, so I selected another one of the Glasgow pieces. Her name is Raina Schmidt. She designed Hand of Time. She wrote, "I made this piece out of wire, and it is modeled to be a replica in size of the human hand." So look at your hand. That size is what it is. It represents the wreckage being done to the animal habitats by the droughts we are experiencing during this time. My project ties into the idiom, "If we could turn back the hands of time." This young artist continued, "It is in our hands to make sure we will not be looking back on this time, wishing we would have done more." I want to thank the incredible art teachers who've taught their students about climate art, and the students who've created the masterpieces. All right, there is one more slide here. I'm calling this Earth Girl. This drawing was done by Windsor Forest High School student Janotica Williams, and here's what she wrote. "This piece is a visual representation between the relationship of man and nature. Man's influence on industrialization has shaped the earth in many ways, some good, some bad, such as climate change due to global warming. But despite these technological advances, nature prevails. We used this image on the front side of a postcard that we're using to advertise something. So you see that one, and then the next slide, I know it's difficult to read. I brought some of the cards that you can see a bit later. But we're having an art exhibit of this art, and I would like to invite you to the first art exhibit of Students Climate Art. We'll have the art from local schools right there, and then the PowerPoint running of all the art, local and further afield. The exhibit is opening on May 15th at Oatland Island at 1 o'clock. So I hope you will be able to come and also enjoy Oatland Island. All right. Thank you very much.